Attention passionate Detroit, Lions fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Detroit Lions' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Detroit Lions fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Detroit Lions fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. If you've been paying attention to what's happening around the NFL lately, you've probably noticed how the landscape of the NFC North is shifting. The Detroit Lions, already considered one of the most promising teams in recent years, are now facing some intriguing developments that could redefine their future, especially when it comes to their backup quarterback situation. And yes, I know that might sound like a small detail, but in football, especially at this level, even the backup quarterback can be the difference between a playoff run and a season full of what-ifs. So let's dive into what's happening, and I promise, it's more exciting than it sounds. Recently, the Lions made a surprising move, adding a familiar face to their practice squad, a guy you might remember from his days with the San Francisco 49ers, C.J. Beathard. That's right, the veteran quarterback, who's been around the league for a few years now, has found a new home in Detroit. And what's fascinating about this is that Beathard was without a team for the entire offseason, which in itself is a story of resilience and perseverance. Imagine being a player, ready and eager to compete, and then suddenly finding yourself out of a team, just waiting for the right opportunity. That's exactly what happened to Beathard this offseason. But as it turns out, that waiting period wasn't long because the Lions, in a quiet but strategic move, brought him in. He now joins the practice squad and is set to be the team's third-string quarterback, a role that might seem minor but could turn out to be pretty crucial. Fans of the 49ers will definitely remember Beathard from his early days in the league. Drafted in the third round of the 2017 NFL Draft, he came into the league with high hopes, given his college background at the University of Iowa and his impressive performances during the pre-draft process. His early years in San Francisco saw him getting some starts, and he showed flashes of competence, especially during the 2018 season, when he stepped in during some injuries to Jimmy Garoppolo. But as many of you know, the NFL is a tough league, and Beathard's journey has been a roller coaster. Despite having some decent games, it became clear pretty quickly that he was more of a backup type, a guy with talent, but not quite enough to consistently be a starting quarterback in the league's toughest competition. That's not to say he didn't have moments of brilliance. His game against the Indianapolis Colts in 2020, for example, where he threw for over 300 yards and a touchdown, showed that he's capable of performing under pressure. But consistency was always an issue, and the 49ers eventually moved on, especially as they drafted Trey Lance and later brought in Brock Purdy, who's now their undisputed starter. Still, Beathard didn't disappear. He spent time with the Jacksonville Jaguars, where he got a few snaps in 2023, completing 40 of 53 passes for 349 yards, with a touchdown and no interceptions. That performance, while not earth-shattering, demonstrated that he still has some gas in the tank and could be a useful backup in this league. So why would the Lions, a team that already has Jared Goff as their starting quarterback, be interested in Beathard? Well, if you think about it, the Lions have been building something special over the past few seasons. They've become known for their strong offense, led by Goff's sharp passing and a defense that's improving every week. But football is unpredictable, and as we've seen in recent weeks, injuries can strike at any moment. The Lions have been fortunate so far, but if anything happens to Goff, who's been playing at a high level, they need to have a reliable backup ready. And that's where Beathard comes in. Interestingly enough, during the preseason, there was talk about a possible reunion between Beathard and the 49ers. The team's backup options, Tanner Mordecai and Carter Bradley, didn't exactly impress in the preseason, which made many analysts wonder if Beathard might get a shot to return to San Francisco. He knows the 49ers offense well, having trained with Brock Purdy and George Kittle during the offseason, and he's familiar with their system. It seemed like a logical move, especially given the uncertainty surrounding Purdy's injury, which, by the way, has been a hot topic lately. There's a real question mark about whether Purdy will be ready for Week 2, and if he's not, That could mean a lot of things for the 49ers offense. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture here. The fact that Beathard ended up on Detroit's practice squad might seem minor, but it's actually a smart move by the Lions front office. They're betting on his experience, his familiarity with NFL defenses, and his leadership qualities. Plus, with players like Jared Goff performing at a high level, it's not about replacing him, but about having a dependable backup who can step in if needed. That's crucial in a league where injuries and unexpected setbacks are part of the game. And with all the recent injuries in San Francisco, including the uncertainty about Purdy, Beathard's name has come up more than once as a potential emergency option, maybe even returning to his old team if the situation demands it. That's the beauty of having a veteran like him in your system. Now, for the Lions, this move could have longer-term implications. They're building a roster that can sustain success over multiple seasons, and having a reliable third-string quarterback is part of that puzzle. Remember, in the NFL, depth is often what separates the good from the great. Teams like the Lions are smart to stack their roster with experienced players who know how to handle pressure and can step up when needed. Beathard, with his NFL experience, knows how to operate under pressure, and even though he might not see much playing time this year, his presence adds stability and security to Detroit's quarterback room. And speaking of the season ahead, the Lions are riding high on a wave of optimism. They're coming off a solid campaign last year, finishing with an impressive record that gave them a playoff spot. They've been building a culture of winning, and with Jared Goff leading the offense, they're confident in their ability to compete at the highest level. But as we all know, the NFL is a league of inches and moments. One injury, one unexpected game-changing play, and the whole picture shifts. That's why having someone like Beathard in the wings is a smart move. He's not just a placeholder, he's a seasoned professional who can help keep the team afloat if the worst happens. Now, let's switch gears a bit and look at what this means for the NFC North, specifically in terms of division rivals. The Vikings, Packers, and Bears are all trying to find consistency, but the Lions seem to have established a solid foundation. They're not just hoping for Goff to keep playing well, they're building a team that can adapt and overcome adversity. With the backup quarterback situation being more stable and experienced, Detroit could have an edge if injuries start piling up elsewhere. It's a small detail on paper, but in the NFL, it can turn into a big advantage. And I want to highlight that Beathard's journey has been quite inspiring. Coming into the league, many saw him as a promising talent, but the NFL's brutal reality has tested him repeatedly. He's had to fight for every opportunity, bouncing from team to team, always ready to step in and do his part. That kind of resilience is what makes him an asset for a team like Detroit, which values character and mental toughness just as much as talent. The Lions have been building a roster full of players with strong mentalities, and adding someone like Beathard fits perfectly into that vision. Looking ahead, it's also worth noting that the Lions have been very strategic in their offseason moves. They've focused on bolstering their defense, improving their offensive line, and adding depth at key positions. The quarterback room, while not their only concern, has become an area of interest because of the importance of stability at that position. Jared Goff has proved he can lead a team deep into the playoffs when given the right support, but having a veteran backup like Beathard is the kind of move that shows the Lions are thinking long-term, not just about this season, but about sustained success. Now, I want to talk about the potential impact of the injury situation in San Francisco on Beathard's role. As many of you know, the 49ers have been dealing with a flurry of injuries, especially at the quarterback position. With Brock Purdy's status uncertain for Week 2, teams are scrambling to find solutions. Beathard's familiarity with their offense and his experience could make him a candidate to rejoin the 49ers if they need emergency help. It's a scenario that might seem unlikely now, but in the NFL, things change fast. The fact that he's currently on Detroit's practice squad doesn't mean he's out of the picture entirely when it comes to returning to San Francisco if the situation calls for it. This whole saga highlights how dynamic and unpredictable NFL rosters can be. Players like Beathard, who might seem like just a backup, can suddenly become critical pieces in a team's puzzle. And for the Lions, it's a strategic move that could pay off in ways we don't see right now, but we'll certainly appreciate if the worst-case scenario unfolds. It's about having options and being prepared for the unpredictable twists that football always throws at us. In conclusion, this move by the Lions to bring in CJ Beathard on their practice squad isn't just a minor personnel tweak. It's a smart, calculated decision that reflects their understanding of what it takes to build a resilient and competitive team. It's about depth, experience, and readiness to face whatever the season throws at them. Detroit fans should feel confident knowing that the team is thinking ahead and covering all bases, especially at a crucial position like quarterback. As the season progresses, we'll see how this decision plays out, but one thing is for sure, the Lions are serious about winning, and moves like this prove they're prepared for the long haul. And now, Detroit Lions fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this move? Do you think Beathard can be a game changer if needed, or are you more focused on how this impacts the team's overall strategy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Detroit Lions. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Detroit Lions news. Thanks for being part of this journey with me, and as always, go Lions!